This show is proudly brought to you by the #Me Network. Access granted.
Kia ora, and thanks so much for tuning into episode 52 of Access Granted, our weekly tech and media podcast. I'm Raj, my background's in film design, media and technology.
And I'm Mike, and my background is explaining stuff, connecting people, and getting things done. You're here because you're a Kiwi that either works in or has a great passion for tech or media in New Zealand.
Episode 52. Later we'll be catching up with Nick and Richard from Flight Coffee.
Right, sustainable podcast. So we've got some exciting news about a sponsorship deal coming up in the next couple of weeks. One of the things that we're likely to do is actually, and we're researching, and when I say we, I mean Raj, is researching on microphones that we can use. The question that we've got, though, is it worth it? What is the sound quality like for you guys out there listening to this? Let us know if you think better quality would be something you would appreciate, or is it in the editing, or what is it about the fundamentals of the podcast that you'd really like us to put our sponsorship money towards?
Very nice.
The other one is Patreon. Now, we've talked about it so much, and we just haven't had the time to do our wee little video. So we've just booked ourselves for Saturday.
Yes, Sunday.
Sunday, yeah, that's right, Sunday. And we're going to be recording our video on Patreon, which means then we can finally get our stuff up and out of. We're also going to be approaching all of our glorious past interviewees.
Alumni.
The alumni,
Yeah.
and asking for swag from all of their companies so that we can start to have them as things that people would like to give away. So that's where we're at with the Sustainable Podcast. We're getting there, and we've kicked ourselves and actually booked ourselves in to do stuff. So, change is afoot.
We'll get there, you know.
Yeah,
It's not our full-time job, fair enough.
that's very true.
Yes. Right, so this week we caught up with Nick and Richard from Flight Coffee. So I met Nick and Richard a few years ago when they started the coffee shop right under my office called The Hangar. Since then we've spent more and more time at The Hangar. It became our second meeting room in the end.
Oh,
We
yeah.
spent a lot of time there. So much so that we just walked in, sat down and got up and walked out. No other process was needed until we got the bill at the end of the month. So that was really cool. We were their first account, actual monthly account.
That's awesome.
Since its inception, basically, the start of the business, the Flight Coffee guys have been on a growth path, which also accounts for sustainability. So what I mean by that is they've always had that in the back of their mind as they grow to be a sustainable little franchise enterprise.
So when you say sustainable, do you mean sustainable in the green environment sense, or in the sustainable in a business sense?
Well, both, I think. And the green stuff comes part of where they source their coffee from. So they actually go out and they have people that stay for months on in Colombia, hanging out with the growers, going, hey, what's good this year? What's this? What's this about? Well, let's try this.
Well, let's hear their story.
That was pretty cool, yeah. Gentlemen, we're here at Goldings again. I'm here with Nick and Richard from Flight Coffee. Welcome to Access Granted.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for
I've been trying to get hold of you guys for a while, because I remember when you first started, we were next door, and your place became our second boardroom, basically, or a second meeting room.
Yeah.
In the end, it turned into our main meeting room.
I think we were pretty much your most generous landlords.
Yeah.
No, it was great, eh? It was great there.
You and Greg were knocking on the window before we were even open.
Yeah,
showing
well,
the
we
bill.
walked past a lot. Just on that Thursday before you launched on the Monday.
Yeah.
We kept going, we walk the dog, right? And we'll come back and say, oh, you guys open yet? No. You guys open yet? No. Then the next week came along and we just straight there. We couldn't believe the place. So anyway, first question I usually ask everybody is, what makes you happy? That usually stumps a lot of people.
Cheese.
Cheese. Cheese makes you happy. Any particular type?
Cheese in general. I
general cheese.
like soft cheeses. I like hard cheeses.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nick, what makes you happy?
I don't know, man. This is going to sound kind of weird, but like small wins.
Small wins.
Yeah, like it's quite funny. Back when I was little, I was never really into the detail of anything. I was always bigger scope, bigger picture, and kind of generic. Now it's like everything is in the detail, If you're working on a little project for work, or it's even something at home, or even like with your mates. Sometimes you can kind of just like come across a new detail that gets like back in the day I wouldn't have focused on, but now kind of it's what I do focus on, and then you're like, oh, it's kind of neat, it's kind of cool.
So does that come about from your whole business life or personal life?
Yeah, I guess.
Details, because before you weren't so much details.
Yeah, I was never really didn't go to university, and it was just never really my focus ever at school or anything like that. And I guess since being in business and one of the beautiful things about our working relationship with Richard and then our other director Matt is we kind of really specialise and hone in on different areas of the business that we're naturally drawn to, naturally quite, I guess, good at because we enjoy it, and that's our focus. So a lot of what I do now is pretty detail orientated, right? I mean, to be honest, everything we do is given the nature of a specialty coffee. See, I don't know. It's almost been like the last 5.5 years has kind of been like university.
5.5 years now.
Yeah.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
So
But way
how did,
scarier.
how did you get it going then? What was the genesis? Because, during that time, I remember, because we spent a lot of time at the Faro, places like that, and we drank a lot of coffee, and everyone drank a lot of coffee, and there's a lot of suppliers, a lot of people out there doing it. So what made you give it a go? It's such a saturated market.
Well, I had a cafe, my first cafe when I was 21, and I during that time, through youthful, blissful ignorance, thought that I could give it a go.
Yeah.
I knew Matt and I had been friends since we were 7. He said, when I told him this idea, great, well, I'll do it with you, so you don't stuff it up. So that was good enough. We faffed around for a few months trying to find some money and to no avail with the bank. We had an angel investor come in at the 11th hour, just as we were about to ditch the idea. Long story short, set up, roasted for myself, my own cafe, and then plodded along.
Where was that cafe?
In Napier.
Oh, yeah.
Plodded along with no direction or clear vision of where we were going to go. I think it was 2009, was it? I think Nick and Matt, they knew each other in the industry down here, and we brought him on. Bought in for a nominal sum of money at the time, and the only thing that we kept at the time was the name.
Right.
Pretty much the PNG dark roast single origin organic coffee dropped. Was no more. We started blending. There was this thing called blending, and everything that everything that was sort of dropped with the exception of the name, and things really started to.
The original name, original bank account, and the original roaster.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then in April 2010, we opened Memphis Bell Coffee House. It's down the road there. Nick ran that with another business partner we had at the time, and got that off the ground. And then things sort of progressed from there. Really, we always wanted to create a space where we wanted. Other cafe owners and operators, or business operators, to come in and experience sort of our take on hospitality, and our sort of take on coffee, and that was really where it all started. The philosophy hasn't changed really with the hangar at all.
It's just evolved, really.
Yeah.
I guess.
So how long were you in Memphis Bell before the hangar came along? It's been a year or two?
3 years, I think.
3?
Yeah,
3 years.
It's coming up 3 years old, and then it just turned 5 last month. I don't even know if you remembered. I just remember last week.
Yeah, it was
which is kind of funny. But we sold Memphis in the end of 2012. Still supply coffee to this day, which is really cool. And
That's where we first sampled Flight Coffee, was Memphis. We'd go to Memphis all the time.
Yeah.
Then we realised, wait, there's someone, they're setting up next door.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. But that's where we started too, at Memphis.
Cool.
Yeah.
But it was great. I think it's definitely where we learnt some of our biggest and hardest lessons, which was cool by doing that. Yeah, it was like that was kind of where we understood the value of building a brand.
But also managing people and
Managing people, none of us had ever really hired anyone before. We'd always we'd manage people, but we were the ones hiring them, or at the end of the day responsible or accountable for their well-being. So that was kind of interesting. And then that was our first actual, I guess, setting, planning and executing of a strategy as well. In terms of that was our idea of how do we build a brand and a tangible idea of what Flight Coffee is, and essentially how do we structure community around it so it kind of becomes sustainable and eventually just a well-known Wellington cafe supplied and driven by Flight Coffee, which worked pretty well. So, and then hence the idea. We kind of grew up a bit, learned more about the industry, and that's when we were like, all right, it's time to kind of do something a bit new, which was the hangar, and kind of make it a bit more accessible, but also bring our roasting business flight down to Wellington at the same time. So
Which,
yeah.
yeah, which
Right, so
happened
everything
in-
was roasted out of town first.
Yeah, and Napier. Yeah.
Right.
So
What were you doing?
in 2011 we set up a bit of a retail space in Napier in the industrial area up there, and that was just out of needs, to get into a sort of more public profile. We weren't quite ready to move down here, and then we'd signed the lease in late 2011, sold the Napier site July 2012, and then moved pretty much that month down here, and that's when we're in the late stages of building the hangar. So.
That was a mission too. I remember it used to be some sort of mechanics or something.
It was a car park.
Yeah, and had that revolving thing like
Yeah.
Batman. I thought, man,
Yeah.
it'd be cool to have that garage.
Yeah, I have no idea why a space that small would have something that intense in it. I was like, so, and I've
Might
never
have
seen
been
it
a
work.
bit cave at one point.
Like when we got in there, it was welded shut because of lack of use, which was kind of funny, right? Like that's the whole. I don't know.
That was still working in there.
Well,
now.
the landlord actually wanted to keep that turntable in there, but the council said not a chance. Like, take it out.
We were quite keen as well. I thought it'd be a cool feature, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it wasn't a deal breaker. It didn't really matter. It was just a nice idea.
Yeah. So then after that, so you've done a shitload of learning from the Memphis Bell scenario. Come and built your own little place again. And initially it was a little bit of retail space plus your roastery right in the back.
Yep.
So I remember it used to get quite warm in there.
Uh-huh.
And so now you've moved the roastery out, and that's the standalone cafe, right?
Yeah.
And what's happening with that? You're distributing stuff from your roastery. You're all over the country now.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. So in I think it was late 2013 in November, we moved the roastery out of the hangar and built a production kitchen in there, and that was sort of like, I suppose, the final phase of the hangar. It all happened really quickly, and I think retrospectively, if we'd ever thought we could get away with putting a roastery in a cafe, like we would have probably not done that had we known
Right.
what we know now to the extent of how that particular space works. But
So at the time, it was kind of cool to see it in action.
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
it?
it was
I
kinda
remember
cool.
taking some video of it.
Yeah.
As you were roasting away. It's quite cool.
But look, the reason we did it was entirely practical. We didn't want to pay two rents, like we wanted a retail space, and we wanted a roasting space, and we wanted to consolidate costs. So
Yeah.
that was pretty much one of the main drivers behind it.
Also, it was that time to kind of be like, how do we increase the brand presence? It was like, well, literally having the roasting in the middle of town hopefully can benefit. So, which it did. Like the fact that it was there and people could kind of come and see it for how long was it there for? A year?
It was a year and a bit, I
Yeah,
think.
year and a bit. It was good. We made do. We were crammed for ages, and it was
Yeah.
that office upstairs, like above the roastery in the summertime, was the worst.
It was a
Oh,
sauna.
right.
Yeah.
Upstairs. Yeah, right. I wondered what it was like.
Yeah.
40 degrees. We had like no windows. With the one window we had it, and it opened into the airspace above where the roaster was. So yeah, it was pretty crazy, and it got real hot in there. But yeah, so we moved to where we are now, which is in the end of Garrett Street, and we're just taking some more space that's available to us now.
That's pretty cool.
It's getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Because it should need more space for all the coffee you're bringing in.
Yeah, all the green coffee and there's a lot of things you got to hold, I guess. Like, to be honest, like green coffee, takeaway cups, and then just actually having the space to be able to kind of work efficiently as well. When you're kind of running, like essentially it's all one operation, but in that there's lots of little different things going on.
The details.
Yeah, pretty much. So I mean, to be able to have like our guys and our various teams work effectively, you kind of have to provide that space for them. So we've just been like, you know what, it's not super ideal, but in a year's time it's going to be more than that.
Right.
So let's just kind of make the move now and get it happening. And yeah, we've got plans to develop like our perfect idea of a tasting lab, training room.
Is that right?
Yeah, which is sounding pretty cool at the moment.
A lab. It's a tasting lab sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Just the lingo.
Yeah. It's also to store the green coffee from one of our other businesses, Raw Material, which is sort of selling green coffee, specialty green coffee from Colombia right now, and then soon to be Mexico.
So that's the other thing. You guys source yourselves. You go out and you two yourselves gone out and gone and bought some beans, right?
Sure. And
How do you do that?
Well, it's,
Without giving away the...
no, I mean, it's I suppose in principle it's very simple. It's you partner up with an exporter, or you go to a country that produces coffee and you taste a bunch of coffee and then you pay for it and then you ship it out, you store it, roast it, and then sell it. In theory,
Make it sound quite easy.
well, it's
Well, some parts of it can be.
yeah.
But it's it's hard to make that kind of consistent when you
Yeah.
do it that way.
There's many cultural, and political considerations, you have to work around, and but it's we're talking about the sustainability of producing a consistent product consistently,
Right.
and growing a brand while doing that. And so we wanted to do something slightly different, which is pay our coffee farmers that we buy from outside of the volatile C market, which currently coffee is currently traded in more often than not all scenarios. And this idea is not mutually exclusive to us, but it's something we're just giving a go. And so building those relationships with individual farmers, takes time. It's something the project that Matt's been spearheading for probably coming up 3 years now, and it's really coming into its fruition and into its own.
So he's on site a lot. He's out there.
Yeah,
the whole
yeah.
time, right?
So he was in Colombia 4 weeks ago. He's off to Myanmar on Sunday.
Wow.
And he and I are heading back to Colombia in November, and at this stage Mexico as well, after Colombia. Yeah.
So there's a process you go through to choose
yeah,
where you're going, right?
Yeah, it's not just you don't go to an exporter to select coffee. Like you can do that if you want, but there's a sort of a process and a system that we go through to make sure that quality control steps are ensured, as well as working with our exporter to ensure the farmers are remunerated appropriately based on the quality that they're producing.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
All angles. Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been nuts, eh? To be honest, like you look back and think, shit, yeah. So I don't know, it's pretty cool. Still lots to do though.
Yeah.
Got some pretty exciting projects. I can't even remember if we told you, but we're getting ready to open up in Australia.
No.
You didn't
Yeah.
know?
No, I haven't talked to you guys in a while.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah.
That would be the
we're,
reason. So you're off to Aussie?
Yeah, we're expanding flight over there. So
Yes.
we're opening a roastery, another arm to flight in Sydney. And at the front of that, there's going to be a new big cafe, similar to the Hangar, but kind of different style brand.
Guess you have to market it to the audience there, right? So it's slightly
Yeah,
different.
yeah, yes and no, I guess. I mean, it's like arguably one of those things. Like, do a good job, you build it, they all kind of come. And the great thing about Australia is just the population.
Oh yeah.
And the weather is pretty nice over there. But
It's our whole
it's just-
country packed into one
Pretty
city,
much.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Mm.
and we're also doing a small little coffee shop in the middle of Melbourne. And like I'm pretty pumped because it gives us an opportunity due to that population where we can actually kind of, rather than kind of I guess doing some big general ideas really, really well, because you kind of have to cater everybody in Wellington. Over there we can actually get a little bit more niche and focus on, I guess, like to really find what it is that gets us up in the morning when it comes to specialty coffee, and use that as like a pretty awesome display room. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be fun. So we're
So
kind
you
of
can you can actually play with it a little bit, can't you?
yeah, pretty much. So we're just kind of still in the planning design process, but it's starting to shape up to become a pretty interesting concept. And like to be honest, like, one of the best things about it, I think, anyway, is we've been able to offer a couple of our guys back here in Wellington opportunities to go over there and be like, hey, kind of at the moment you guys are killing what you're doing here, but there's no room for you to level up in terms of management or like company structure because of we're this size. In a year's time, we'll be a bit bigger and maybe then, but if you want to wait around, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, we want to kind of encourage you to go over and do you want to run
Great
this?
idea.
Yeah, do you want to?
So you're nurturing your own talent at the same time.
Kind of, eh? And the benefit for that is like we've got our people, they're family to us, which is cool. We get to continue working with them and watching them grow, but also it takes our culture over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not kind of having it's not like you hire strangers, because obviously you get to know your new people, but for us it's kind of like it's a safe bet in a way.
Yeah, and it's as much about giving them opportunity as well as, a career in coffee for someone who's not within our industry may seem a little bit like a bit of a strange career choice. A barista, working as a barista, like what is that? What do you do? I've heard commentary around people say, well, you just make coffee, and it's like, okay, yeah, sure, yes, we do just make
Simplified
coffee,
version, yeah.
but when it comes down to talking about a career within coffee, it doesn't stop at the coffee machine in a cafe. It really just begins there, and coffee has this amazing ability to do something that never ceases to amaze me, and that is it transcends cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, political beliefs, and systems, and then it brings people together. And you see that no more. It's no more evident, than at the World Barista Champs. Take for example, the one we just had in Seattle in April. Iran was there
Oh, yeah.
the very first time. They competed in the 15 years of the competition, and the sentiment around Mehran, who competed from Iran, and the audience. I mean, he got as much of a standing ovation as the United States competitor did in his heats, and that's because there's a real community around coffee, and so it takes you places that it puts you in front of people and cultures you'd never ever thought otherwise that you'd ever get in front of, and being able to offer our guys the chance to sort of move to the side and then up a little bit it's rewarding, because we get to grow, they get to grow, and personally as well as professionally. So.
Yeah.
So speaking about the Barista Champs, you've been in there every year since you started flight?
Yeah, year before that. So I wasn't this year.
Oh, you're busy,
Nah.
yeah?
Yeah,
Way too
that
busy.
was it. Like last year was my last year doing it. Well, not last year, definitely, but last year I did it, and it was a real struggle trying to keep up with that and work.
Because I remember you guys prepped months and months beforehand,
Yeah.
Tastings and blending shit up. I don't know what you did.
Some would argue that I could have done a bit more, a bit sooner.
Was that one last year? How long was your prep last year?
Look, it was
On the plane over?
A couple of weeks.
But yeah, it was good. Like, we've had some really great successes with them. So this year I wanted to kind of focus on actually giving back to our guys, so I could still focus on the growth we're kind of going through right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, was able to help a few of our guys train up for it. And Addison Dale, who's a barista down in Christchurch, who uses our coffee every day. He took out the New Zealand comps,
Oh, nice.
which is really cool. And
Well, you guys have been quite good at that. High profile as well as taking out the
Yeah.
championships. I mean, you've been
and that was
a few times you've won the whole thing, right?
that was quite special for us because for this year in particular, because one, it wasn't me, so it's just all right. It's nice to know that we can actually kind of help part some skills off to other people.
Yeah.
Not to take anything away from him, like he did a lot of work, a lot of work.
Huge, man. Yeah.
But also, like the first year, we used the coffee that we had directly sourced and went all the way through our current business model.
Yeah.
And like Rich was over there with the farmer in December. November.
Yeah.
And
So it
yeah,
starts from there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
was
Started there.
working with a guy I've been buying from a couple of years, and
Yeah.
kind of, I guess, in a way, consulting on his farm, and we're like, yep, this is the coffee. It's off the charts, and yes, like for us as a business, and it's kind of like, I don't know, back in the day when you have an idea and if you want to call it a dream, it's pretty cool to see that actually work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
See it happen.
Be recognised to that kind of level. And
What makes it even more pertinent too is that Nick Rapp, he's going over to Australia to roast for us in Sydney. He won for the second year in a row the New Zealand Brewers Cup. So it's another coffee competition that we run here. With a coffee that we sourced when I was in Colombia in November, though in actual fact we didn't have sort of any level of consultation in this farm, or either the one that Addison bought in. We bought from Addison as well. The very fact that we in Addison's case, we met Carlos, the farmer, and he's such an awesome guy. And throughout the world's competition, and even New Zealand, I was on WhatsApp and I was sending him pictures and texting him, and I was just sending him updates of how it was all going. And it's kind of like to be able to have that level of involvement with a producer who is responsible for producing one of the most amazing Colombian coffees we've had the privilege of buying is really cool. And
Must be fulfilling for them too to see the end product come out.
Well, yeah.
Well, they grew it, right? They grew it, handed over, and some of this amazing stuff.
like handpicked it,
Yeah,
like,
that's
yeah.
amazing.
And that's coming a well shaft day.
and we're heading back to Colombia in November. I mentioned earlier, but Addison's going to come with us. He's going to meet Carlos,
Oh, that'd be
his
cool.
farmer, and he's pumped, man. Both of them are actually really.
That's all
excited
about
to
it,
meet
the
each other.
connections that you
Yeah.
make as well, right? So you sustain the relationship over multiple people down here,
Yeah.
and multiple people over there.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's
So,
good stuff, man.
and those competitions as well, they've helped us grow our business. They've also helped us educate our market.
They've educated us too, really,
Yeah,
haven't they?
yeah. They force you to fine tune your skills and your knowledge and push for the next best idea, next best thing. Like I was lucky enough to take it out in 2013, the New Zealand one. And it was, massive exposure for us, not just in New Zealand, but the international specialty coffee community. I guess it kind of, turns a few heads, as it does. And then, just like internally, like whether it was like, peer recognition or consumer recognition, it's, it all has a lot of benefit.
It helps that he placed fifth in the world that year as well. Like,
Yeah.
And as a direct result of being a finalist at that level, like the exposure that comes your way, like you don't after that fact, you don't really sort of look for it. People come to you and ask you your opinions, and all of a sudden, like
You become an authority, right?
well, not so much. Well, I mean, if you win, absolutely, you can become an authority. But it gives what you do credibility as well. And I think for us that was a really, really important turning point, or at least a watershed moment within our business. To give it some.
Especially when you
form of-
compete with some really amazing people out there that have been doing it a lot longer
Yeah.
than you guys.
Yeah.
So it's good to see when you see on Facebook or whatever, suddenly Nick's here and he's doing this. It's like, this is amazing stuff.
Yeah.
It's a cool little story here.
That was pretty cool, eh?
Yeah.
It's definitely,
The amount of work you guys put into it, it's amazing. Really good.
it's a lot of work.
Must be nice to see it all, just happen once you put all that hard work in and
Pretty
see
much,
the fruits, right?
Like it's
Yeah.
in a way, it's kind of like it's like almost the biggest kind of inspiration you can get for the next thing. The biggest, to kick up the ass. You're like, well, this is working. Let's go harder. Let's go faster.
And it really is. And those sorts of competitions, they incite change, and they encourage progression. And like what we saw at this year's competition was just it's incredible what competitors will do to push the boundaries within the rules and push people's and consumers' understanding of what specialty coffee is and how that translates in the cup as well as on the farm, as well as at a level that's right across the board from primary to consumer.
Now, I wanted to ask, because I'm a media marketing guy, I wanted to know how you came up with the brand, how you came up with the idea of the brand and what you've done to make it grow. For example, the DM materials you've made and the amazing stationery you have in-house, things like that. How did that all come about?
Man, I don't know. Trial and error. I guess we've learned a lot. I guess we started to get a bit savvy towards branding in the last 2.5 years, and this was like for various reasons. One, you've been doing it for a little while, and you start to and this is kind of what I was talking about earlier when you're like, what makes you happy? It's those kind of small wins,
Right.
And it's just a different kind of thinking, really. But we engaged with some good friends of ours, Inject Design, about 2 years ago, for actually a new website, and kind of saying, hey, we're looking to kind of get a new website going in the next thing, and we want something really awesome. Goes live next month.
Oh, yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And then at the time we were kind of like, hey guys, we're gonna do this website, and it's gonna be awesome. But then in probably like a couple of years or a year's time, we're going to probably need to rebrand and maybe redo the whole thing. Why don't we just rebrand now?
All right.
And we started kind of looking at where we were, what other people were doing, and kind of where we wanted to be. And we're like, yeah, you know what? In terms of where we want to go, if we want to really kind of, I guess, just kind of really tighten ourselves up. Like force yourselves to pull your own socks up. We're gonna need to do that. So we kind of gave them the most hilarious brief in terms of what we're after. Like one was, you have to win an award. And then, I think another one was.
So these guys put that in
was it?
perspective. They just finished, I think, Hell's Pizza's branding.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they'd not long won a couple of big awards on that.
They've done so many amazing brands, like Jack Foody's Drop, and they've pretty much every kind of best awards. There's one of us they come out of with a couple of golds, a few bits and bobs, print awards and all that kind of thing too.
Nice.
So they absolutely kill it. So it was kind of like it was a joke, but at the same time, like, come on. And then we get along very well.
So they delivered.
I don't know if
they delivering?
I don't know if they've entered it. I think they're going to be entering the next one, but see how it goes.
We're still in the final stages of rolling out. I think the last thing we're in the process of ticking off, but
Just packaging,
Yeah.
which is almost ready to roll. Oh man, it's looking so tight.
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah,
They've already done really well.
it's getting there. But yeah, we kind of just said to them, we're like, look, we've been working with this current brand of what it is we do and who we are for 3.5 years now. We have no idea what something else would look like. Can you just take a month and tell us?
Oh, yeah.
We're kind of just like, we trust you. Can you just walk us through and think of, I guess, understand that we don't want to have to change it again for a wee while. We want this to be a part of who we are until the end
So
of
you're gonna grow with
time. Pretty much, Like what is next? Like what do people want to see next, and what isn't out there at the moment, and how do we, 'cause, like that kind of stuff, I guess, in a way, have to kind of define what we want to do, where we want to go.
For us as a business decision too, I think it was one of the first examples of us where we were like engaging with a professional outfit to do something that costs a lot of money for a specific outcome, because you were in effect outsourcing this. We couldn't do it in-house. Professionals are professionals in their fields for a reason, and they gave us something that really helped us stand out, not just domestically but internationally as well, and some of the brand recognition that it's had from publications in the US has been super encouraging.
That's cool.
It's been written about it, and that's gratifying for Inject, but it's also doing what we wanted it to do.
Yeah. Solved your problem, which is what we want to hear in the design world.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
No, really
So
cool.
what's next for you guys? Besides Australia, you got bigger plans in Australia, or can you tell me yet?
Aussie, we cut again.
We're
Like
going
we
to take over Aussie first.
pretty much just look at the blueprints right now. Take over? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we ever want to take over anything, eh?
Yeah.
Our goal's not to be the biggest; it's just to be the best.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
And with Australia, it's small steps. We have an idea in mind and how big we want to get to within the next 5 years, and we'll do our best to do that. But it's like Australia is, it's not New Zealand, and most of us aren't living there. Matt is based there, so
Okay.
it's the cautious steps. But I think moving
Was a new market, right? So,
Indeed, and
something different.
But
Yeah.
beyond
New
that,
for us.
Beyond that, there's opportunities in Colombia we're pursuing with partners, with our Helena partners we've got over there, and buying a coffee farm and leasing some land too in the short term, and growing our own coffee and experimenting with different processing techniques, and also growing different varietals, and really going at ground.
You have the whole process covered.
And so that, that's one part of the bigger picture with the raw material business. The other part is to, with our partners, the Helena guys, is to provide some consultancy services. Part of which has already begun. Miguel over there has already started this company called Co-Work Coffee, and that's to get a community of farmers together who want to be involved in specialty coffee and be involved in the opportunity that can provide. And so we provide a market to that, and it's exciting.
Sounds awesome.
Opportunities come our way all the time, and we're really lucky, and we work extremely hard, but at the same time we get to have a lot of fun.
That's really cool.
We have a lot of fun, eh? It's, to be honest, we're all pretty curious buggers, so it's kind of like we're quite lucky to be able to have this outlet. It's pretty cool. We've got another project we've got in the pipeline as well, in another country, but that's still kind of on the D-Lo, but stand by.
Yeah.
Won't be long.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Well, it'll be on your new website eventually, right?
maybe we'll see.
And where can people find you online? If they want to know more.
Yeah, flightcoffee.co.nz.
And you guys on Twitter, Facebook,
Instagram, yeah.
Instagram?
Just
All at
/Flight
Flight
Coffee.
Coffee.
All of them? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty much, eh? It's pretty easy to find things online. Just Flight Coffee.
Yeah.
Put it in there. Something will pop up.
Yeah. That's really cool. I appreciate your time. I know you guys are really busy.
Oh, no
You've
worries,
been
man.
sorting lots
Thank
of things
you.
out.
Thank you for the opportunity.
No, it's been good to talk to you guys. We've been looking for your story for ages, because I remember when you first started. But these are the guys to talk to about starting up a coffee brand. Everyone else has done it. There's a few out there that have done it, and they did it way back when, but you did it recently. Really interesting story. Yeah, so I appreciate that.
That's cool. It's been fun. I do remember when we kind of were starting and were moving it all to Wellington. Someone, I'm not going to say who it was, but we're like, "Oh, what are you doing? Bringing coals to Newcastle?" We're just like, "Oh man, we're just trying to get better coal." That's all we're trying to do.
Turned out you did.
The same person said, "Oh, you're top heavy. You're gonna fall over." Ah.
We have quite a different approach to business than a lot of people. I guess just because of our generation, really, our age, and we like the idea of being able to change things at the drop of a hat.
Awesome.
So we keep it all settled, but at the same time flexible. So, yeah. It's good.
Agile coffee production.
Yeah. Makes it a bit more fun. More interesting. So,
Thanks, guys.
all cool. Cheers, mate.
Wow, fascinating conversation, Raj.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to try and shoehorn an analogy into this. So if I bring it back to tech, how does this sound? So Flight are trying to, well, build their own platform from growing the beans all the way through to the final coffee product.
Yeah.
And it sounds a lot like, I don't know, the Android or iOS platform. So they've got all the tools that you can have all the way from growing your beans, your SDK, building your app, all the way up to somewhere to host it. However,
Yeah, all the way to the coffee cup. The host.
yes. Well, Flight, like Android and Apple, for instance, Google and Apple, they'll have a few shops of their own, but they're not trying to put the billion apps on there themselves. They've just opened that up to anybody to use their platform.
That's right.
So
yeah.
they're franchising it out as well.
The coffee, yeah, they have basically a supply agreement type scenario, like many of the others. But they also instill the sort of the philosophy of Flight at the same time.
Yeah.
Not just about, here, this is how you pour the coffee.
No.
There's a bit more to it.
So that's Google with Android saying this is the material design, this is how it looks, this is how it feels, here's the design ethics.
Yeah.
But you go off and do your own thing.
Yep.
Built
Still
upon
your coffee
our
shop.
platform.
Yeah, coffee shop, not coffee shop. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
very-
that's the
And
thing
then
that's different, isn't it?
Is
From the
that
others.
the difference? They've built their own
Sounds
platform
like
all
it.
the way
Yeah,
through.
yeah.
Right, next week,
Next week, well, we could catch up with Janine's from Flossie, flossie.com.
Flossie.
Flossie, yes.
Spell that for me.
FLOSSIE.com.
Ah, Flossie.
Yes.
What is Flossie?
Flossie, right? Flossie and Flossie Concierge, which is the app that they launched a few weeks ago, or last week,
Okay.
is all about basically what some have said is the Uber for health and beauty, but it's not quite that. Basically, Janine had a need and a want, and she came up with this idea of, hey, there's busy ladies, right? And it is geared to ladies. I went to the launch. Jackie Ann and I was the only guys there, really. But it was interesting stories. We've got some cool stories out of it. But anyway, the idea is it's a concierge service. So it's an app on your phone, and there's a mobile site there, but mostly things happen on the app. And you can say, I want, today I'm free at 3 o'clock, and I'm in Wellington. Is anyone that can give me a nice, decent haircut, blow wave, other cosmetic type stuff, facials, etc. And then the companies that are in the network will pitch to them basically, going, yeah, right here, 5 different options, what would you like? This is the location, go book me in or not book me in.
Wow.
Then you get the notifications and all that kind of stuff.
So that's Flossie. Cool. So you can talk with Janine.
Janine, yeah.
Janine from
Yep,
Flossie next week.
that's right, yep.
Awesome. And you and Jack were the only
Yeah, we're the only
there.
guys here.
I look forward to that, mate. It's going to be a fascinating conversation. Right, so find us on the social networks. Look for the podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Google+. Google+.
Oh,
How many
is that,
days?
Is that still happening?
How many days left?
IO said something about,
I
was it
didn't
out?
mention it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, it didn't mention it.
Yeah, and it made photos, right, separate, so I don't know.
Yeah, photos with no fucking Chromecast ability. Brilliant, Google, well done.
Oh, they're still growing and learning, Google? It's still early days, right?
Sometimes you just think, knobs, they not talk to each other? Obviously not. No. Anyway, so we're on Twitter, Facebook, and currently Google+.
Yeah.
And you can chat with myself, at Miramar Mike.
And me at NZ Raj. And please email us on accessgranted at #me.co.nz. For all the other hashtag goodness, such as the updates, news, prizes, much more, go to the #me.co.nz website.
So thanks for your time. See you next Tuesday with the Kiwi Tech people sharing their own stories. And as a thanks to John Campbell and the team, we're both proud to say,
Ka kite anō.
#me.co.nz